and welcome back, friends, to part 4 of the Sturdy Oak Winter Sleigh. The Winter Sled. Today we've got, well, it's going to be exciting. We've got the slats all cut. We're going to get that mortise cut in and that all completed, as well as we'll do a cool radius, kind of an old, like, you remember the old flexible were they flexible flyers? Red Riders? I don't remember. The old sleighs kind of had that kind of traditional. So let's go up front. I'll take you up there and show you how all of this goes together. So here we are up front, and here is, remember that nose piece that we did last time that we put up front there, that we used the Stanley number 50 to cut that dado in. So these pieces, these oak slats, will slide in there a 1/2 inch, just like that. And that will secure that front end. Now here, what we're going to do is we're going to cut a mortise in both sides of those runners for that to go inside their 3/8, just like those center dividers, little arch pieces, and that will secure it. So if we push weight on the front of here, it will support the front of those slats, as well as give us a really a durable point that we can hook either a handle to or a rope or whatever it is we decide to do, that won't be relying upon screws or glue or anything, that'll actually be mortised into the runners. So very strong. So it's a very clever and simple design here. Let me show you how they slide in from the back side. Let me move this clamp out of your way so you can see better there. Okay, so here we can see how these slats will slide right in there. Maybe this one would be better here. In there, and hold that all together, just like that. And they'll kind of float in there. We'll have to figure out a way to secure these guys up front. Maybe we can just leave them open. We'll see what happens. All this is kind of seat of the pants here. Okay, let's cut those mortises out and then get it all kind of put back together. So while I had the clamp on, I just took and just measured everything on that front, that it was all equal on both sides, and then drew a line around there with the pencil. So that is the exact size of our bullnose piece there. And then we can chisel that out. We'll go 3/8 of an inch deep with this one here on both sides. So I got the first of the 2 mortises done here. I just did this one here real quickly to show you. Then we'll do the second one over here together. But you can see these are, of course, whenever you're doing this stuff, make sure you keep track of when you're hand planing material and you don't have, like, using edgers and planers and stuff, so it's not super, well, when I do it's not super precise, and each one's got to be kind of a custom fit. So let's see how. Looks like that goes in there nicely. You can hear it seat. So that is really great. So that'll go in there. That's in there 3/8 or so. And then when we pull on that, see if I can give you a focus here. Is that focused? When we pull on that, whether it be, whatever we decide for the handle, then it'll be strong. It's not relying upon any joints or anything like that. So I think that will work out really good. Regarding handles, a lot of folks recommended putting a rope on it. That's kind of the first thing that comes to mind, and that's fine. But if you're pulling a child, and you go downhill, of course, then it runs into you. So I'm thinking maybe a handle would be better. So we'll get to that in the upcoming video here. But for now, let's chop this mortise. I'll show you how I did that. I just used a chisel, and then we'll fit it all together. We'll cut that rear radius, and we'll start to kind of see how everything looks. All right, friends, here we go. This is the fun bit. We'll cut this mortise out. I'll be using the 3/4 inch. This is the old Stanley 750. This is my favorite chisel. If I could just have one, this would be the one that I'd choose here. So we've got those pencil lines there, right? So, and those pencils, that pencil lead has a thickness. So when I first started doing these, I kept, it was getting a little frustrated, because every time I'd cut a mortise, it was bigger. It was too big. They were like a little bit sloppy. Just a light touch there. And then I finally realized that I wasn't accounting for the thickness of the pencil lead. So usually I'll just come back to the inside. Really important, these first ones, a very light touch, just like that. Remember how we did the chisel, not like this, but like this, so it doesn't mash into the wood here. We'll do the same thing over here. That's one of the best things when you have some time and you're not in any hurry, nothing's pressing. nice weekend day to you take your time and do a really nice job with these. Very, very satisfying. So I received several comments about the people were distracted by the green tape on my injured thumb there, so I took it off there so you can enjoy the carnage there. And I got those from the dirt biking. So once you get those, so you see we're cutting across the grain there. The grain's running this way. Don't have too much luck cutting with the grain. It seems to split out and such. And so I'm really careful with that. I will put the chisel on there just to the inside. That's really easy to trim later. So this I'll hit even lighter, just a little bit, just to kind of give myself a reference point. A very light touch on that one, or slide it in like that. That's all you need. You don't need any more than that. Do the same thing over here. Also, I've got a lot of questions on, as those of you guys are astute observers have noticed that I've got a new watch. Mrs. W got me a really special Christmas gift this year. She bought me a watch I always wanted. I'm wearing it now. This is the Seiko Tuna. Really interesting history. They're probably about the toughest watches made. And you can argue G-Shock. Of course, G-Shocks, those are super, super tough watches. But I think they're cool and all, but I don't. They're just a little bit too. They're just a little bit too much for me. I guess I don't want to offend anyone, but I've had a couple of them, and I always think they're a little bit gaudy. Maybe that's the wrong word. I guess probably what I should say is just that I kind of like the old school analog watches. They give me the fizz where the G-Shocks don't. However, Jack wanted a tough watch. I kept buying him Timexes. Because he just doesn't really care too much about clothing or anything like that. He's like, whatever, I don't really care. And they would last him about a month or so, and then they would break. And so I thought, well, I'll get you a watch that won't break. So I got him the classic G-Shock. I bought one of those when they first came out, like in 1985 or something. It was a long time ago. I still have it actually, but the glass broke on it, so it's not usable. It got water in it. So I got him one of those, and he really likes it, and that's a great choice. And they're not very expensive. They're like, you can get them on like $60 or so. And I would, that's not a bad way to go. I would go with, I'll probably order one of those myself, because when we go dirt biking and stuff, because this one here it's too heavy. It's a big watch, and it's really heavy. It's got that protective. This whole silver cover on here is a shroud, a protective shroud, and then it covers the sides there, but you can still index the bezel right here. So it makes a pretty heavy watch. And what I noticed is not really great when you're riding dirt bikes, because it just beats the tar out of you flapping up and down, because it's so heavy. But for everything else, it's really one of the most comfortable watches I've ever worn. So I'll probably get one of those G-Shocks to when we go riding. So there's just not so much mass on there. Okay, so you can see there, I got to talk in there. Okay, see there, what I'm doing, the process is we'll just start with our chisel, and we'll take about a 1/16 of an inch or so out with each pass. And it's about the depth of what we cut on the sides there, and it actually goes pretty quick, so we figure we want to go 3/8 deep, right? So that's about 6 passes, give or take, if we do it right. And then I'll move over here and then go this way. My clamps totally in the way here. That's way too deep there, but I'll move that clamp here. But you run into that wall, you can feel it and break that off there, and then you just repeat the process, right? You put your chisel in there and give it a good, now that you're down deep and those sides are protected, you can really put the Swede to it, as my granddad used to say. A strong hit, powerful stroke. My granddad worked with a guy that was from Sweden. They were good friends. But they always had a really good banter back and forth. And because Swedes by and large, traditionally they've been big, big guys and strong people. And this guy my granddad worked with, he was no exception. My granddad called him the Big Swede. So anytime anything needed persuading, like we needed to use a pry bar or a sledgehammer, he'd say, put the Swede on it. He always equated strong with Swedes. So you can put the Swede on it when you get down there a little ways. I'm being a little aggressive on that side because I can't get to it with the way my clamp is there, but I don't want to interrupt our stimulating conversation. So once we get that mortise down there close, you can now is a good time with your chisel and just clean up those edges. And if your ends are not completely vertical, you can kind of check that. Check that with your combination square. You can hold it there and see, but everything looks pretty good. Looks like our depth is all pretty good with the chisel. It's a little bit high right there, but if you have this is a wonderful tool here. One of the hardest ones. I looked for one forever, and then one of my subscribers sent me one, and then my father-in-law Vince, he sent me one too. So I've got two of them now. But it's a hand plane. But this will ensure that I can check and it'll cut anything that's sticking up proud and ensure that we have a nice, or hand router, excuse me. We have a nice consistent bottom to our, there's a couple little high spots there. It'll point them out for you. But that looks pretty good. You don't need that. You can do everything with the chisel. Just take your time. And before I do too much cleaning up and trimming, I'll make sure you get all of those little shavings and flakes out of there. But before you do too much trimming, you always want to try stick your tenon in there and see and make sure that it's, because if you're on the margins, you don't want to take anything out if that little bit's going to help kind of keep it tight. But that's nice and tight. That's really good. I'm real happy with that. That looks good. Okay, so let's put it back together and then determine that rear radius together and see what I think we ought to do with that. So we can put our pieces together here. I've got the rails all clamped together, starting to look like a sleigh now. And then we can insert our slats here just to kind of see how it all looks. I like the proportions of it. It turned out really good. You never know sometimes. I mean, maybe it'd probably be better to sketch everything out on paper, but I just don't have the patience for that. I like to just start doing it, and you know it when you see it type of a thing right there. That looks nice, doesn't it? Love the length of it, love the width of it. These look great. We'll space these 3/4 of an inch off the sides, and then whatever comes out, but it should be right around 1/4 inch per on the inside there. That way the snow and stuff will fall through. That looks great. Oh, that looks, should we put a radius in there? Let me move the camera here. Let's get a better look on it here. So should we put a radius on there on the back? I think so. Versus a square. It does look kind of nice on the back right there. I think we should do a radius. So to do that, let's push all these together. We'll push them together. Make sure that they're all kind of squared and all the way up, seated. Like that. And now we need to find something that we can draw a radius with. And you know what that's going to be? Where'd it go? Yeah, you know it. You called it. It's going to be the ye old bar stool, right? Right? Okay. So how far do we want that to stick out the back? That's going to look nice. Make sure these guys aren't slipping out on us. But that's the beauty of the handcrafted projects, right? They don't have to be perfect. A lot of the stuff I do, well, as you get better, your eye gets better too. But we'll just kind of eyeball this, estimate the center of this guy here, and I think that looks pretty good. What if we did this? Just like that. What would be wrong with that, huh? That looks great. That's the way a sled ought to look, huh? Right there with the round. That turned out good. I think that was the correct thing to do. It really finishes it off nice. Let me get a different angle here. There you can see it a little bit better. The spacing's not done yet. I just kind of eyeballed them in there and placed them in there. But I think it looks really nice. It is definitely plenty of stiffness between them. That 3/8 thickness was just about right. I think the dimensions turned out really good. It's really pretty. So the next question we have to answer is an important one. I'm going to need your input on that. We'll do a poll, and then we'll do whatever you guys think would look best for it. And so the question is this: should we finish it in a natural finish, meaning wood grain color, a clear finish? I was thinking since it's going to be such rough duty or hard use, we could use the Waterlock. They have a marine grade stuff. It's rated for outdoor that I've read is really, really good. So we could do something like that, and that would maintain the natural look of it. Or do we want to paint it like traditional red or green? Kind of imagine kind of Christmas color. We could go that way. We could do white too. I don't think that would be very good though. So let's go between this. We'll go between this. Should we do it at the natural finish? I'll put in a poll. So vote what you think, versus a red or a green, and then whatever you guys decide, whatever you choose on that, that's what I'll do, because I think it would look good either way. Any one of those three would be pretty nice. So put a comment. Don't forget, click the thumbs up if you enjoy these videos, and we'll see you guys on the next one. So welcome back, everyone, to a very beautiful and cold winter morning on the homestead, January 3rd, 2018, and a chilly 17 degrees outside. And the promise of snow coming, which is something I look forward to so much. The snow is always a blessing and a curse, because I look forward to it and I get so excited, and it's so nice to have it. But I'm always a little bit sad when it goes away. But I guess that's what makes it important. If we had it here all the time, we wouldn't appreciate it. And that leads me to a really interesting conversation that we had during our morning devotional. Our family, we get together as a family and we go over, our church has what they call a quarterly, which is a study guide. Basically, it's kind of a Bible study of outline. Then they do 4 times a year that usually has a particular theme. And it's nice for us because you can kind of go follow it day by day, and it just kind of helps you keep on track. It's just a guideline. Of course, you can expand it and take it wherever you want it need it to go. But what we do is we kind of use it as a guideline, and then the particular topic or the theme for this quarter that started at the end of December is materialism. Materialism. So what we try to do is we try to, how does this lesson and what the Bible and what God is trying to teach us about this particular topic, how does that relate to our particular family in regards to materialism? And we had such a very interesting conversation, and I'm always trying to give analogies to Jack or create analogies to help him to understand these lessons. And the analogy that I gave him was this, that, for example, imagine that there's a family that's struggling. Maybe they're living in a one-room apartment and barely making enough money to buy food and to pay rent, and it's a stressful situation, and the car's got bald tires, and they just don't know how they're going to get through the year. They don't know how they're going to, they don't even have enough money to for the necessities, let alone anything outside of that. And when you are a person of faith, when you're a Christian, when you find yourself in that environment, that's the time where you're usually closest to God. And I think the reason why is because you have a need and you see that you can't get yourself out of it, or not anytime soon, and you need help. And that's when you rely upon and you lean upon God the most. Therefore, that's when you're the closest, when you have that connection, because you're spending time with him. And it's no different than a friend. If you have a friend that you don't spend any time with, and you don't call or inquire or check upon or show any interest in, that friendship will die. There'll be an acquaintance, but it won't be close. It takes effort on both sides to maintain that. And the same thing goes for a relationship with God. And we put God in such a difficult position when we ask him to answer prayers or to get us out of particular situations, because 9 times out of 10 or more that it removes us from his presence. In other words, we stop relying upon him and we start relying upon those things that he's given us. So can you imagine as if you were a father and your son was asking for something that you knew would draw him away from you, that you knew would make you irrelevant and no longer necessary? How reluctant would you be to grant this if it was in your power? And yet God still does that. And then we get these, we'll receive these things, or he'll get us out of a bind, and maybe we ask for a job or something that would give us more money so that we can have a nicer home and take better care of our families. And then we start relying upon those things. And you see the sign, Jesus saves. And Jesus saves on the billboard, the person that doesn't have anything, that is a powerful message. But the person that has $1 million in the bank account and has got a BMW and he sees that same sign, what does he think? Jesus saves. Saves from what? Saves me from my nice car. Saves me from my secure job and my millions of dollars in the banks. That's where your heart. That's where his heart is, and that's where his security is. And it's a dangerous thing. It gives me sympathy for God that here we ask for these things, and he gives them knowing that many times it's going to draw us away. The other side of it, though, is that there are a lot of well-meaning Christians out there who will say, well, money is the root of all evil. Well, it can be, and so can food, and so can a lot of things that can be used for good or evil. But there's many, many examples of the patriarchs and men and women that are held up as icons of faith, examples of faith that were very wealthy. Even many examples of God's people and that he made wealthy himself. So it's not so simple. Some people can handle it, and some people cannot. But the bottom line of the lesson was this, is that if you find that these things, these blessings that have come upon you, are starting to distract you from what's important and to take you away from that friendship, that relationship, then you need to take a hard look at it. And certainly my family falls into that category as well. Where is our center? Where's our core? Where is our rock and our foundation? Is it coming from? Is it coming from money? Is it coming from security and savings and these things? Or do we need to refocus on what the most important thing is? Because you can chase those things, and people do. We see it all the time, and money and security and finances and all those things, and they do provide and they do take care of people. But at the end, when you're at the end of your life and that's all that you spent your entire life doing, it's gravel in the mouth, so to speak, instead of a peace of mind and a legacy left behind of that you can be proud of and without regret, I guess, is a thing. So, well, I'm rambling. But anyway, the point I wanted to make was it is a new year, and if you've fallen away and if you've lost that relationship with God, now it's always a good time. You can get started and find yourself a program or something that'll help you stay on track, and just be faithful and do it, and you'll be amazed where you can be a year from now. So that's it. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you guys on the next video.